Let me ask you something. You got a tiny loft. Maybe it has those high ceilings that look amazing in listing photos and absolutely terrifying once you're actually standing in them with a sofa you cannot fit through the door. Maybe it has one good window and a layout that makes zero sense. Maybe right now, it just looks like boxes and regret. Here is what nobody tells you about small loft spaces. They are not the problem. The styling approach is. Because most people try to furnish a tiny loft like a full-size apartment, and then wonder why it feels like a storage unit with a mattress. In 2026, one specific design fusion is quietly taking over small space interiors, and it works better in a loft than almost anywhere else. It is called Scandi-Boho, and by the end of this video, you will know exactly how to pull it off, step by step, layer by layer, without blowing your budget or crowding your floor plan. Stay with me, because around the midpoint of this video, I'm going to show you the one layout rule that completely changes how much space a loft actually feels like it has. Most people get this backwards, and it costs them. Before we get into it, if this is your first time here, welcome. I am Brian. This channel is called Affordable Tiny Homes, and we do one thing: real housing and design information, no hype, no sponsored content. If that sounds like your kind of channel, hit subscribe and the notification bell so you do not miss what is coming next. All right, let us get into the Scandi-Boho method. Let me break this down fast. Scandinavian design, the kind you see from IKEA, HAY, Mudo, Firm Living, is built on 3 pillars: simplicity, functionality, and natural light. It is the reason Nordic homes feel so open even when they are compact. Clean lines, light woods, no clutter. The guiding philosophy is that beauty should come from the things you actually use every day. Bohemian design is the opposite energy. It is layered, expressive, and deeply personal. Macrame, vintage finds, Moroccan patterned rugs, plants everywhere. It celebrates individuality and a kind of collected over time warmth. On their own, each style has a limitation in a tiny loft. Pure Scandi can read as cold and sterile when the square footage is not there to give it room to breathe. Pure boho in a small loft becomes visual chaos. Too much pattern, too many layers, and suddenly you cannot find your keys or your sanity. Scandi-Boho is the calibrated middle. It uses the structure, restraint, and spatial logic of Scandinavian design as the skeleton, and then layers in the warmth, texture, and personality of Bohemian style as the flesh. And here is why it is particularly powerful in 2026. According to Nordic Nest 2026 Interior Trend Reporting, this year's dominant theme across Scandinavian homes is moving decisively away from stark minimalism toward what they call a richer, warmer, more personal approach to home design. Brown is the new beige. Handcrafted details, embroidery, and layered textiles are back. The Bohemian spirit, they wrote, is finding its way back into interiors through delicate florals and intricate craftsmanship. That means Scandi-Boho is not a dated Pinterest trend. Right now, in 2026, it is exactly where mainstream Nordic interior design is heading, which means you are not behind the curve. You are on it. The first place people go wrong in a tiny loft is color. Either they paint everything white in a panic, which flattens the space and makes it feel clinical, or they try to compensate for size with bold color, which shrinks the room visually. The Scandi-Boho palette does something smarter. You start with a warm neutral base, not bright white. Warm white. Think cream, warm ivory, pale oat. The kind of white that has just a touch of yellow or gray in it. On your walls, this reflects light without bleaching the room of personality. According to Meltflex's 2026 Scandinavian Design Guide, the classic Scandi palette has expanded this year to include warmer neutrals like cream, beige, and terracotta, moving away from the cool grays that define the 2010 Scandi look. From that warm base, you layer in 3 to 4 earthy accent colors. Warm honey or light oak from your wood furniture and flooring. Olive green or sage from your plants, and 1 or 2 soft furnishings. Terracotta or dusty clay from ceramics. A small accent pillow or a woven basket. Dusty blush or muted rust from a throw blanket or a single art print. That is it. You're not working with 6 colors. you're working with 4. And they all belong to the same warm earth family. So they read as cohesive even when layered. What you're avoiding, cool grays, stark bright white, navy blue, and anything high contrast that will visually chop your loft into pieces. The Scandi-Boho palette works in a loft because it borrows light without fighting itself. Every color in the palette cooperates. Nothing screams. Furniture in a tiny loft is where the Scandinavian part of Scandi-Boho does the heavy lifting. Because Scandi design has always been about solving spatial problems with smarter objects. Here are the 5 furniture rules that actually matter. Rule 1. Show the floor. In a loft, visual clutter is the enemy of perceived space. The single fastest fix? Choose furniture with visible legs. A sofa on 4 clean legs shows 6 inches of floor beneath it. That gap between furniture and floor is what makes a room feel airy instead of stuffed. Low-profile platform pieces with no legs have their place, but use them selectively and consciously. Rule 2. Go low and wide, not tall. Lofts often have dramatic ceiling height. That is part of their appeal. The instinct is to fill that vertical space with furniture. Do not let the ceiling breathe. Keep your primary furniture low, platform beds, low coffee tables, low-profile sofas. This creates a strong contrast between the low furniture plane and the high ceiling, which actually makes the ceiling feel even higher and the room more dramatic. Lively's 2026 Scandinavian Living Room Guide specifically highlights this. Low coffee and side tables are a defining trend, influenced by the Japandi crossover style, and brands like Gooby and Firm Living are leading that direction. Rule 3. Multifunctional or do not bother. Every piece of furniture in a tiny loft needs to earn its square footage. A storage ottoman that opens up, a daybed that doubles as a guest bed, a bench at the foot of the bed with hidden storage inside, an extendable dining table that collapses when it is just you. In 2026, Scandi Design has doubled down on this philosophy. Nordic Nest Trend reporting confirmed that multifunctional furniture remains key as homes continue adapting to ever-changing needs. Rule 4. Natural materials over manufactured finish. Light oak, beech, walnut, rattan, wicker, linen, jute. These are the materials that carry the Scandi-Boho aesthetic. Avoid anything that reads as shiny, laminated, or synthetic. The warmth in a Scandi-Boho loft comes from the material honesty of the pieces. Wood that looks like wood, fabric that breathes, weave that shows the craft behind it. Per Meltflex's design guide, the new wave of Scandinavian furniture in 2026 favors honey oak, beech, and walnut over the bright whites and pale pines that defined early 2010s interiors. Rule 5. Mix Scandi structure with boho accent pieces. Your primary furniture, your sofa, your bed frame, your dining table, your shelving should be clean-lined, simple, and Scandi. That is your foundation. Then your accent pieces, a rattan chair in the corner, a woven poof as a footrest, a vintage side table with some history in its grain. Those bring in the boho personality without cluttering the floor plan. The formula is simple: Scandi backbone, boho soul. Okay, this is the moment I mentioned at the top. The layout rule that most people get completely backwards. In a tiny loft, almost everyone does the same thing instinctively. They push all the furniture against the walls. Sofa against the back wall, bed against the side wall, table against the window wall. The logic makes sense. You're trying to maximize the open floor space in the middle. It does the opposite. When all your furniture is pressed against the walls, the center of the room becomes dead space, an awkward, uncomfortable void that serves no purpose and makes the room feel like a waiting room. The walls look cluttered. The middle looks abandoned. The room reads smaller. The Scandi approach, and this is backed by spatial design research, is to float your furniture inward. Pull the sofa away from the wall by even 12 to 18 inches. Anchor it with a rug underneath. Create a defined seating zone. Then let the corridor of space run around the edges. This does 3 things in a loft. It creates a sense of distinct zones: living area, sleeping area, work area, which makes the space feel larger because it reads as multiple rooms rather than one undivided box. It draws the eye to the center of the room, which is where your carefully chosen rug, coffee table, and layered textiles are. That is where you want the attention. The open perimeter around the furniture gives the illusion of more square footage, because the eye reads the circulation space as living space rather than compression. Now combine this with loft-specific vertical thinking. Use the height of the ceiling. Mount shelving high. Hang a macrame wall piece that runs vertically and pulls the eye upward. Use tall plants, a fiddle leaf fig, a tall snake plant, to create visual lines that connect the furniture level to the ceiling level. The vertical gesture makes the room feel taller than it is, and taller always reads as larger. This is where the Bohemian part of Scandi-Boho comes in beautifully. Boho decor naturally works vertically. Hanging plants in macrame holders, tapestries, vertical gallery walls, woven wall art. All of these are inherently loft-friendly because they use the one dimension a tiny loft actually has in abundance: height. Textiles are where the boho element gets to breathe in a Scandi-Boho loft. Done right, layered textiles make a tiny space feel rich, cozy, and intentional. Done wrong, they make it feel like a thrift store. Here is the layering system that works. Layer 1, the base rug. Start with a large, neutral-toned rug that goes under all your main furniture, or at least the front legs of your sofa and the coffee table. Natural fiber is ideal: jute, sisal, or a flat weave cotton in warm oud or ivory. This is your anchor. It defines the zone and adds warmth underfoot without competing for attention. Layer 2, the accent rug. On top of or beside the base rug, add a smaller statement rug, a textured vintage Berber runner, a classic Kalim, or Moroccan-style piece in muted terracotta, olive, and cream. This is your boho moment. The pattern adds personality without overwhelming the space because it sits within the structure the base rug already created. Bohetiker Home's Scandinavian boho guide notes this technique specifically. Start with a neutral jute or sisal. Layer a smaller patterned rug on top, and choose colors like soft beige, gray, or off-white to maintain the Scandi base while the added texture brings in boho charm. Layer 3, throws and cushions. On your sofa, choose 2 to 3 cushions maximum in the loft's accent palette: dusty blush, olive terracotta. Mixed textures: 1 linen, 1 knit, 1 woven. A single chunky knit throw draped over the sofa arms signals warmth and lives in the boho register without being excessive. Layer 4, window textiles. In a tiny loft with limited windows, the instinct is to keep curtains minimal or skip them entirely. The Scandi-Boho approach is different. Use sheer linen curtains in warm ivory or cream that extend from ceiling to floor. Floor-to-ceiling curtains do 2 things. They make windows read as larger than they are, and they add vertical texture to the walls without adding visual weight. The anti-clutter rule. Before you add a textile, ask one question: does it serve the color palette and the texture mix, or is it just more? The palette, warm neutrals, earthy accents, is your quality filter. If it does not belong to the palette, it does not belong in the loft. This might be the most important section of this video for anyone living in a loft, because lighting is where tiny spaces win or lose completely. There's a reason Scandinavian design is so intensely focused on lighting. Nordic countries experience brutally dark winters. Danish, Swedish, and Norwegian designers spent a century solving the problem of how to make spaces feel warm and alive without relying on natural light. The result is one of the most sophisticated approaches to artificial lighting in any design tradition. The core principle from Meltflex's comprehensive 2026 Scandi Design Guide is this: a typical Scandinavian living room might have 5 or 6 light sources, none of them on the ceiling. The goal is soft, layered light that makes the room feel warm even on the darkest evening. For a tiny loft, that principle is everything. Overhead lighting, the single ceiling fixture most lofts come with, creates flat, even shadowless illumination that flattens the room, reveals every imperfection, and kills all warmth. Here is how to build a layered lighting scheme in a Scandi-Boho loft. a rattan or woven pendant light above the main seating or dining area. These cast beautiful patterned shadows on the walls and ceilings and deliver the boho texture in a functional format. Warm bulbs only, 2700K or warmer. A tall floor lamp beside the sofa or reading chair. This is your secondary light source for evenings. Look for a simple arc design in matte black or brass finish. A small table lamp on a side table or shelf. Warm glow, small footprint. Candles. This is not merely decorative. In Scandi design culture, candles, particularly pillar candles on a simple tray or cluster on the coffee table, are a serious lighting tool. The Danish concept of hygge is built in part around candlelight. Fairy lights or string lights near the sleeping platform or loft ladder, if your loft has a sleeping loft above. This reinforces the cozy, wrapped-in warm feeling that the boho side of this style lives in. The net effect of 5 or 6 warm light sources instead of one overhead fixture is that the space loses its hard edges. Corners go soft. The room feels bigger because it feels inhabited, like a place where people actually live, not a box being surveyed by a bare bulb. Plants in a Scandi-Boho loft are not decorated. They're a design layer. There are 3 functions plants serve in this aesthetic. They add the living color that the palette's neutral base does not supply. They create vertical scale that connects the furniture level to the ceiling height. And they introduce organic imperfection, the gentle irregularity that makes a Scandi-Boho space feel curated rather than staged. For a tiny loft, here's how to choose and place them. 1 tall plant, a fiddle leaf fig, a bird of paradise, or a tall snake plant, in the corner beside the sofa or near the loft ladder. This is your vertical gesture. Aim for a plant that reaches between 5 and 7 feet. It bridges the furniture and ceiling planes visually. 1 trailing plant on a high shelf or floating ledge, pot hose, heartleaf philodendron, or a string of pearls. The trailing habit adds movement and draws the eye upward to the shelf, which reinforces the vertical reading of the space. 1 hanging planter in a macrame holder near a window. This is the most distinctly boho element in the plant layer, and in a loft near a window, it is a natural fit. Small plants in earthy ceramic or terracotta pots on a coffee table or windowsill. Succulents, small ferns, or a rosemary in a clay pot. These add texture at the intimate human scale without consuming floor space. The Bohemian Home Guide for Scandi-Boho spaces specifically recommends large, leafy greens like monsteras or ferns alongside hanging plants and macrame holders. The greenery balances the neutrals with a fresh, lively vibe, tying the whole look together. Maintenance note: if you're not a plant person, 2 things. First, snake plants, pot hose, and ZZ plants are essentially indestructible. Second, dried botanicals, pampas grass, dried eucalyptus, dried florals, have been trending strongly in the boho space and require exactly 0 maintenance. A tiny loft lives or dies by what it does with its walls. Leave them bare and the space feels unfinished and cavernous. Cover them randomly and it feels chaotic. The Scandi-Boho approach uses walls with intention. Here are the 4 wall treatments that work in this aesthetic. 1. The vertical macrame statement. A large macrame wall hanging, something that runs from about eye level upward toward the ceiling, is the single most effective boho element in a loft. It is texture, it is craft, it is vertical movement, and it is distinctly personal. Position it on your main focal wall, usually the wall visible from the entry point. Keep everything else around it simple. 2. The minimalist gallery wall. Stick to neutral or monochrome art, abstract prints, nature studies, simple line drawings, in mismatched but harmonious frames. Lean toward natural wood or matte black frames. The Scandi DNA here is restraint. The gallery wall should feel curated, not collected. 5 to 7 pieces maximum, thoughtfully spaced. Per Bohemian home, the simplicity of Scandinavian design shines through in minimal gallery walls, while abstract or nature-inspired pieces add the Bohemian twist. 3. Floating shelves as wall architecture. In a small loft, floating shelves do double duty. They are functional storage and they are wall decor. Mount them at varying heights, running from medium height upward toward the ceiling. Style them with a mix of books, spines facing out, small plants, a candle, a ceramic object. The Scandi principle here is that beautiful things should also be useful things. 4. The single statement print. If gallery walls feel like too much work, one oversized art print, something abstract with warm earth tones, can carry a full wall in a tiny loft. Scale matters. A small print on a large wall looks like an afterthought. A large print on a full wall looks like a decision. And one thing to remember about 2026 specifically, Nordic Nest Trend reporting noted that floors and ceilings are no longer neutral backdrops this year. We are free to extend personal style onto each and every surface. That includes an accent wall in warm clay, deep olive, or warm terracotta if you want to push the palette further. All right, I want to end on the mistake because it is the one that trips up almost everyone who attempts this style. They had too much boho too fast. Here is how it happens. You have got the warm neutral walls. You have got the clean-lined oak furniture. It looks great, but you want it to feel more personal, more layered, more lived in. So you add a macrame, and a woven rug, and 2 more plant pots, and a vintage tapestry, and a collection of crystals on the windowsill, and more cushions, and a beaded curtain near the kitchen corner. And now your Scandi-Boho loft looks like a market stall in a very small village. The structural rule of Scandi-Boho, especially in tiny spaces, is that the Scandi element always anchors and the boho element always accents. The ratio should feel roughly 60% Scandi restraint, 40% boho personality. If you flip that ratio, the minimalist logic collapses and everything starts competing. Kuham's Scandi-Boho living room guide puts it clearly. Keep the base of your decor simple and neutral, then layer in Bohemian pieces gradually to maintain balance without overwhelming the space. And from Sweet Magnolia's design guide, focus on quality over quantity when selecting furniture and accessories, and maintain balance between clean lines and organic shapes. Add 1 boho layer at a time. Live with it for a few days. Then decide if it needs the next layer or if it is already right. Restraint is the skill. The Scandi side of this aesthetic is basically teaching you that. If you made it this far, you now have a complete framework for turning any tiny loft into a space that feels considered, warm, and genuinely beautiful, without needing a bigger apartment or a larger budget. One honest note before I let you go. If you're planning a full Scandi-Boho loft refresh, current 2026 market data puts a realistic furniture and styling budget at roughly $1,500 to $3,500. Using a Scandi flat pack foundation from places like IKEA paired with curated boho accent pieces from Etsy, local thrift stores, or H&M Home. That range gives you the full layered look without the boutique price tag. And one more thing, this stuff takes time to layer and right. Do not try to furnish and decorate a whole loft in a weekend. Buy one good piece, live with it, then add the next. The Scandi instinct for restraint is actually a practical one. It keeps you from spending money on things that fight each other. If this video helped you, the best thing you can do is share it with someone who is dealing with a small space. That is how this channel grows. No algorithm tricks, no sponsor posts. Just people finding it useful and passing along. Subscribe if you are not already. I put out new videos on real housing, real design, and real numbers every week. See you in the next one.